Hey guys, tonight we're diving headfirst into a world of salt and shadow, where the seas stretch wider than your imagination, and the only thing more unpredictable than the waves is everything else. You're gonna be a pirate tonight. Congratulations! It's not quite as glamorous as Hollywood makes it look. There's no jaunty soundtrack, no guaranteed treasure, and your odds of living past 30 have just dropped faster than a cannonball off the side of a galleon. But don't worry, this isn't the kind of journey you need to survive. In fact, you probably wouldn't. Honestly, most didn't. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, drop a comment with your current location and what time it is where you are. I'm always curious where in the world we're drifting off together from. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The first thing you notice is the silence. Not total silence. No, the ship creaks faintly beneath you, and the sea gives off that low, rhythmic hush like it's breathing. But it's a quiet kind of world. No seagulls scream overhead. The wind is too polite to whistle. The water stretches all around like liquid glass, catching glints of moonlight that shimmer and fade. You're standing barefoot on the deck of a modest pirate sloop, its sails neatly furled. The ship rocks gently, almost lazily, as if it too is in no rush. The crew is asleep below, packed shoulder to shoulder in the low, dark belly of the ship. But not you. You've got first watch. Lucky you. You lean against the rail, and it's warm from the sun that set hours ago. Salt clings to everything, the ropes, the wood, even your eyelashes. It itches, it burns a little, and it never quite leaves. You'll get used to it, sort of. Behind you, the sails hang slack. There's no wind tonight. That's both a blessing and a curse. A calm sea means no storm to wrestle with. No chance of being tossed overboard like a forgotten barrel. But it also means you're going nowhere, fast. You look up. The sky is impossibly clear, like black silk dusted with silver. You see stars you didn't know existed. Some sailors swear they can navigate by them. You, on the other hand, are still figuring out which one is the moon. This is the calm before the salt-stained storm. And the thing is, pirates feared this calm almost more than the chaos. Why? Because too much calm meant time. Time to think. Time to feel your teeth loosening, your stomach clawing at itself. Time to realize the horizon hasn't changed in days. Time to look at your crewmates a little too long and wonder which of them is still fully sane. Here, floating in this silence, you feel like the world has paused just for you. It's beautiful. It's maddening. Most pirate stories skip this part. They go straight to the boarding parties, the duels, the treasure chests. But this waiting is what filled the space between all that glory. And it's what pirates really had to live with. Long stretches of absolutely nothing, where fear didn't come in cannonballs, but in whispers and worry, and the slow, dragging ache of time itself. Your feet sting a little. That's normal. The salt eats everything, even your skin. You can't wear shoes all day. They rot too fast, so the soles of your feet are like leather now. That's a badge of honor, apparently. You squint into the dark. Something flickers on the horizon. Not light, just a sense that something's out there. Could be another ship, could be a hallucination. You've only had dried fish and 3 sips of water today. That tends to scramble the senses. Historically, pirates feared stillness, and not just metaphorically. Ships depended entirely on wind. Without it, they could drift for days or weeks. There were entire logs from the golden age of piracy that read like slow death sentences. Calm, no wind, rations low. Again and again. One lesser-known fact, some pirates believed that whistling on deck could whistle up the wind, but too much whistling, they warned, would anger the sea. Superstitions ran deep. You're tempted to test the theory, but something tells you the crew might throw you overboard just for trying. You glance over your shoulder at the forecastle. Someone snores loudly below deck. That's good. If they're sleeping, they're not muttering about mutiny. Not tonight, at least. There's a single lantern swinging lazily near the helm. Its light dances across the wood like fireflies made of honey. The mast groans quietly, stretching like an old man in his sleep. The ship feels alive in its own way, like it's breathing along with the sea. And here's a curious thought. Historians still wonder how often pirates were truly afraid. Bravery was a performance as much as anything. You couldn't show weakness on a ship full of desperate men. But fear, real, stomach-churning fear, didn't come during battle. It came at night, alone on deck, wondering if the wind would ever return, wondering if maybe this time it wouldn't. You feel it now, that subtle dread, the sense that you're a little speck on a massive, indifferent ocean, surrounded by water so vast it might as well be space. The stars above don't help. They just remind you how tiny you are. There's no plan for tomorrow. That's not how pirates lived. You deal with today. You hope for wind. You listen to the wood creak and hope it holds a little longer. You count the stars. You try not to think about thirst. Your eyelids grow heavy. The sea hums softly like it's cradling you. A breeze stirs at last, just the faintest kiss of air. The sail flutters like a heartbeat, and still you wait. The breeze never stays. You think it's coming back, stirring gently through the sails like a promise, but then it vanishes, leaving only the memory of movement. That soft kiss of air you felt earlier, gone. The canvas above you flattens again, limp and useless, like a wet flag left out to dry. The silence thickens, and the stars, somehow brighter now, don't blink. They just watch, cold and ancient. You close your eyes and listen harder. There it is, the soft slap of water against the hull. Rhythmic, familiar, but then something changes. A shift, a tremble. The wood beneath your bare feet seems to shiver, and that's when you realize the sea has changed its mind. A wind does come, only it's the wrong kind. No gentle gust this time. It slaps the sail hard, like a sudden insult, then another, and another, until the rigging groans and jerks against the mast. The lantern swings wilder now, casting frantic golden arcs of light that make everything look haunted. And suddenly, you understand what pirates really feared most at sea. The weather, not storms, not waves, weather itself, because it's never just one thing. It turns on you. It lies, it leads you in with silence, then blindsides you with fury. This wind doesn't feel friendly. It smells different, thicker, metallic, almost electric. You hear thunder, low and grumbling, like the belly of some sleeping monster, deep in the horizon. No rain yet, just tension. You run to the helm and shout below. No one responds right away. But then you hear the thud of feet. The crew stumbles up, eyes bleary, shirts half buttoned, swearing under their breath. They've done this dance before. You haven't. Sails are reefed. Lines are hauled. Someone barks at you to secure the barrels. And you do, because now is not the time to ask questions. Here's your widely accepted historical fact. The most common cause of death among pirate crews wasn't battle. It was the sea itself, specifically storms that came on suddenly and tore ships apart like driftwood. The Atlantic and Caribbean were full of these violent surprises, and ships back then didn't exactly come with safety manuals or life vests. or hull integrity. One minute you're dozing, the next you're clawing your way up a flooded deck with splinters in your knees and prayers in your teeth. A less talked about detail, pirate ships, being smaller and faster than Navy vessels, were also more vulnerable. What they gained in speed, they lost in stability. Many captains feared sudden squalls more than British cannonballs. At least you could negotiate with other humans. The weather didn't take bribes. Now the waves begin to rise. Not enormous ones, not yet, but enough to rock the ship side to side, a gentle threat in each motion. The horizon disappears behind a wall of cloud, low and curling like a closed fist. Someone laughs nervously. Someone else spits into the wind and says something about bad luck. You cling to the rail and squint into the dark, your face speckled with salt spray and doubt. And here's the thing that no amount of sea lore prepares you for the color of a storm at night. It isn't black, it isn't gray, it's green, sickly, glowing, unnatural green, like mold under moonlight or bruises that shouldn't be there. The clouds have veins of lightning that crawl silently across them before splitting open with a snap. Rain finally arrives, not in a drizzle, but in a slap. Each drop feels like a sting. The deck becomes a slip. Men curse and slide and cling to ropes like wet laundry. You hear someone shout down, and you instinctively duck as the boom swings across, missing your skull by less than a thought. You're soaked now, every thread, every hair. Your breath comes shorter. You hold on to the rigging and remind yourself to exist, second by second. Somewhere in the middle of this chaos, you think about how many pirate ships simply vanish during storms, just gone. No wreckage, no debris, no tale to tell. Historians still wonder how many ships were lost to weather, completely unrecorded, thousands, maybe more. Most crews didn't keep detailed logs. If a storm took you, the sea got the last word. Another crack of lightning. It illuminates the water, the ship, the soaked, snarling crew like a scene carved in bone. And now the real fear settles in. Not of drowning, not even of dying, but of being forgotten. If this storm takes you, there won't be a grave, just driftwood and silence. Maybe, if you're lucky, your ship's name will become a ghost story. That's how legends start. Or don't. You close your eyes again. The wind howls. Your fingers cramp from gripping too hard. You're shaking, but not from cold, from awareness. Every breath is a gamble now. And then, as quickly as it started, it fades. Not all at once, just piece by piece. The rain turns softer. The clouds loosen their grip. The waves don't stop, but they roll slower, like tired dancers winding down. You peel your hands from the rope and flex your fingers. They're stiff, numb, but still yours. Someone laughs behind you. It's not a joyful laugh, more of a "we survived and I don't know how" kind of laugh. You almost join in. The sky begins to open. Bits of starlight return, cautious and pale. You sit, soaked and breathless, against the mast, and you think this is the part the songs leave out. The storm between the stories. The thing every pirate feared, but never admitted out loud. Because you could fight a navy. You could outwit a captain. You could even reason with a mutiny. But the sky doesn't care who you are. The storm leaves, but it doesn't apologize. By morning, the sky has wiped itself clean. The clouds retreat into soft, harmless wisps, and the sea, that two-faced trickster, lies flat and shimmering as if nothing ever happened. It's almost insulting. You're still damp. Salt sticks to your skin in thin, crackling layers. Your clothes, what's left of them, cling uncomfortably, and every muscle aches from clenching, bracing, hanging on. But the sea is smiling again. You sit on the rail, toes grazing the warm wood, as the first light of dawn stretches across the horizon. Gentle pinks, soft golds. It's beautiful in the way only something truly dangerous can be. And then comes the next fear. It doesn't crash. It doesn't roar. It creeps in slow, silent, and cruel. There's no wind, none. The ship drifts uselessly, caught in the glassy stillness that every sailor dreads, but no one really talks about in the songs. The dreaded doldrums. At first, you think this is nice, peaceful, even, no one shouting. The sea is a silver mirror. The only sound is the occasional creak of rope or the lazy flap of an empty sail, the kind of mourning you'd pay for back on land. But then an hour passes, and another, and you start to feel it. The weight of the stillness, the way time unravels when there's nowhere to go. You're stuck, utterly, hopelessly stuck. Here's your hard historical truth. Ships in the age of sail were completely at the mercy of the wind. Without it, you were trapped, sometimes for days, sometimes for weeks. And when that happened, supplies, already limited, began to vanish with terrifying speed. The water goes first. Food holds out a little longer, but not much. Pirates didn't exactly pack gourmet rations. We're talking salted beef that could break a tooth, biscuits crawling with weevils, dried peas, as thrilling as, well, dried peas. But thirst, that's the real killer. A lesser-known fact, some ships, when truly desperate, resorted to collecting dew from sails, or even tried drinking seawater in tiny, deadly sips. Others, according to rumor, weren't so picky about where they got their fluids, and in these windless days, tempers fray fast. You feel it now. The crew is restless. Men sharpen knives that don't need sharpening. Jokes turn sour. Eyes linger too long on the water barrels. You find yourself counting clouds, watching the way the sun glints off the ripples. You swear you can see the horizon breathing. The worst part? There's no sound. Even the sea is too still to whisper. Time stretches. Your mind does strange things. You start remembering odd fragments, the way the carpenter hums to himself, the way the sails sag like empty lungs, the shape of a stain on the deck. It's beautiful, and it's terrifying, because here's the open question that haunts sailors even now. How many ships vanished, not because of storms or battles, but because of nothing? No wind, no escape, no rescue, just endless blue. The crew fading away, forgotten before they ever had a chance to be remembered. There's an old superstition passed between sailors that the sea doesn't kill you with malice. It kills you by not caring, by forgetting you exist. And so you sit, 1 day, 2 days. The sun blisters your skin. The water barrels shrink. The sea stays glassy smooth as the inside of an oyster shell. The sky offers no help. No one speaks much now. Even the boldest of the crew, The ones with gold rings and missing teeth have gone quiet. You see it in their eyes, the quiet fear of waiting too long. A tiny joke floats through your mind. You thought pirates feared death. Turns out they feared nothing even more. Literally, the absence of motion, the absence of sound, the empty waiting where you slowly realize the ocean doesn't have to drown you. It can simply leave you to dissolve. By the time the wind stirs again, just the faintest shiver of canvas, it feels like a miracle. Your hands shake as you help unfurl the sails. The ship groans to life, sluggish but moving. Even an inch of forward motion is enough to feel like salvation. The doldrums have loosened their grip for now, but you know this quiet terror will stay with you long after the sails fill, long after you reach whatever distant port you've half dreamed of. The stillness doesn't leave your bones easily, and as you close your eyes that night, rocked gently by the sea's returning breath, you find yourself grateful for movement, for noise, for anything but the silence of a windless horizon, because out here, nothingness is the sharpest blade of all. You wake with the sun, but it feels less like a gift and more like a reminder. The endless ocean stretches in every direction, glinting harshly, as if to say, "Welcome back to the grind." You're cold despite the heat. Salt crusts your skin like a stubborn rash. The smell of brine hangs thick in the air, heavy and unshakable, like the scent of a damp cellar where secrets fester. Around you, the crew stirs slowly. No one speaks much. The silence is the kind that presses on your ears, makes you listen to your own heartbeat, and wonder if you're the only thing alive on this endless blue stage. You move to the bow, toes curling over the edge, watching water ripple away from the hull. The sea is calmer than yesterday, but that still means little. You can feel the tension humming beneath the surface, the kind of tension that waits, patient and inevitable, like a predator stalking. Here's a fact: pirates didn't have the luxury of rest the way we think of it. Sleep was stolen in shifts, often under the threat of gunfire or betrayal. Every waking moment carried a flicker of danger. But here's the odd part: when there's no immediate threat, the mind becomes a crueler beast than any enemy. The stillness breeds suspicion, paranoia. Who is eyeing whom? Which blade is hidden just out of sight? Every glance becomes a secret message, every shadow a threat. The lesser known detail: some pirate captains employed strict codes and rituals to keep this paranoia at bay. Simple things like specific watch rotations, or even banning certain topics from conversation to stop the crew from unraveling. Discipline was more than order, it was survival. But discipline doesn't silence the open question that historians still debate: how much of pirate cruelty was strategic leadership, and how much was fear of losing control over men who might turn on each other at the slightest crack. You catch a glimpse of the quartermaster, his jaw clenched tight as he inspects the water barrels. You wonder what's going through his mind: calculating rations, plotting something darker, or just trying to stay sane. The ship creaks beneath your feet as the sun climbs higher, turning the wooden planks into a baking tray. Sweat drips into your eyes, stings like salt water tears. You laugh to yourself, a dry, humorless chuckle. If you survive this, your skin will be leathery, your nerves shredded, your soul frayed, and yet you're still here, floating, waiting, breathing the salty air, counting the minutes until the wind decides whether you live or die. The sea doesn't announce its decisions, it just is, and that makes all the difference. The horizon isn't just a line, it's a question mark. Every sailor knows it. The place where the sky kisses the sea, always just out of reach, promising something but never quite delivering. Today you stare at it longer than you probably should, wondering what lies beyond. The sea's calm is deceptive. Beneath its placid surface, the currents tug and twist like invisible hands. You imagine what might be lurking below: whales, sharks, strange creatures no one's ever named, the unknown, as vast as the ocean itself. Historically, pirates feared more than just the weather and the doldrums. They feared the sea monsters of sailors' tales, the mysterious depths where their ships could be swallowed whole without a trace. The Kraken might be myth, but the fear it inspired was real enough. A lesser known fact is that many pirates carried charms or trinkets to ward off these unseen terrors: pieces of bone, teeth, or odd shells said to hold protective powers. Some believed these kept the sea spirits at bay, ensuring safe passage, and yet historians still debate how seriously pirates took these superstitions versus using them as convenient excuses for losses or failures at sea. Your hands absent-mindedly trace the grain of the ship's rail, worn smooth by years of salt and sweat. Somewhere nearby, a rope creaks softly, and the smell of tar rises from the deck, sticky and sweet. You catch a flicker of movement, a bird diving low, then rising again, wings beating hard against the wind. It's a sign, the crew says. Land might be near, hope flares. But hope is a double-edged sword. For every island found, there's the risk of ambush, disease, or worse, betrayal. You glance at the men around you, faces hardened by sun and sorrow, eyes sharp and suspicious. Each one carries their own fears, secrets, and dreams. And as the ship glides forward, propelled finally by a whisper of wind, you feel the strange mix of dread and excitement that defined pirate life, a dance on the edge of the unknown, where fear was as constant a companion as the sea itself. The sun hangs high now, relentless and unforgiving, turning the deck into a blistering sauna. Sweat streams down your face in salty rivers, soaking into your clothes, which cling to you like a second skin. Every sound, the creak of wood, the slap of water against the hull, the occasional groan from a weary crewmate, feels amplified under the sun's glare. You notice how the men move slower, their usual sharpness dulled by exhaustion and heat. Even the ship seems tired, its timbers sighing under the weight of the sun. There's a strange kind of silence among the crew, heavier than before. It's not just the heat, it's something in the air, a tension that you can't quite name but feel deep in your bones. You take a moment to catch your breath, eyes drifting to the horizon, where the blue of the sky and the sea blur into one endless smear. You realize just how small and fragile this ship is, adrift in a vast, uncaring world. Pirates weren't just battling other ships or the elements. They were also fighting against boredom, fear, and the slow erosion of hope. The monotony of the sea could break a man's spirit just as surely as a sword. Here's a well known fact: scurvy, the dreaded disease caused by vitamin C deficiency, was a silent killer aboard ships. Pirates often didn't understand it, and remedies were hit or miss, sometimes involving strange folk cures that seemed more like superstition than science. A lesser known tidbit: some crews tried eating rotten citrus to stave off scurvy, because fresh fruit was a luxury rarely available. Imagine biting into a sour, mushy orange after weeks at sea. Appetizing, right? Historians still debate how widespread scurvy was among pirate crews versus official navies, and whether pirates sometimes had better diets due to their plundering habits. You look around and catch the quartermaster eyeing the barrels of water suspiciously, then glancing at the sky as if willing a cloud to appear. No luck. Your thoughts drift to the ship's cook, if you can call him that, a grizzled old man with a knack for turning whatever scraps are left into something vaguely edible. He's probably muttering under his breath right now, cursing the sun and the sea for being so relentless. Suddenly, a gull's cry pierces the heat-soaked silence, and you're reminded that life goes on, even when you feel like giving up. You push off from the rail and prepare for whatever the day brings next, knowing that out here, every moment survived is a small victory. The afternoon drags on like a stubborn barnacle clinging to the hull. The sun is relentless, beating down without mercy, turning the wooden deck into a sizzling griddle. You find yourself squinting against the glare, wishing for a cloud or even a speck of shade, both luxuries that don't exist on this exposed floating prison. Around you, the crew is listless, faces flushed and eyes glassy with exhaustion. Conversations have dwindled to murmurs, broken only by the occasional grunt or the slap of a hand against a barrel. The monotony weighs heavy, like a thick fog settling on everyone's shoulders. You lean against the mast, arms crossed, and watch as a few pirates half-heartedly repair a torn sail. Their movements are slow and deliberate, as if each stitch is a small rebellion against the tedium threatening to swallow them whole. It's in moments like these that you realize pirates weren't just fighting external enemies. They were battling boredom, despair, and the creeping madness that comes with endless waiting. Here's a fact: many pirate ships carried playing cards, dice, and simple games to stave off boredom during calm seas or forced downtime. These games were more than entertainment. They were lifelines to sanity. But a lesser known truth: gambling could also be a source of conflict and violence on board. Disputes over winnings sometimes erupted into full-blown brawls, making leisure time a risky business. Historians still debate how much of pirate camaraderie was genuine friendship versus fragile alliances held together by necessity and the shared fear of isolation. As you watch a pair of pirates argue quietly over a dice roll, you can't help but smirk. Even in the middle of the vast, uncaring ocean, human nature finds a way to stir the pot. You shift your weight and take a slow breath, savoring the salty tang in the air and the distant cry of a seabird. Somewhere beyond the horizon, land waits, or maybe just more sea. Either way, it's out of sight for now. The ship creaks softly as it rocks gently on the waves, the only rhythm in this timeless dance between man and ocean. You close your eyes briefly, letting the heat and the hum of the sea lull you, if only for a moment, into a fragile peace. The wind picks up again, a shy, hesitant whisper at first, like the sea's way of testing your patience. The sails flutter uncertainly, snapping like old paper in the soft breeze. You watch as the ship responds, rocking gently, a slow sway that feels almost like a lullaby. There's relief in the motion, a reminder that the sea is alive, unpredictable, and ready to move again. You let yourself hope just a little for a fresh gust to carry you forward, away from this endless stretch of nothingness. Pirates depended on the wind more than anything else. Without it, their ships were like logs drifting aimlessly, trapped by the whims of nature. It was a power no man could command, only respect or fear, widely accepted fact. Experienced sailors could read the wind, predicting storms and changes in weather by subtle shifts in air pressure, cloud shapes, and even the behavior of birds. It was a kind of language between man and nature. But here's a quirky detail. Some pirates believed that whistling on deck could summon the wind or curse it away. This superstition led to strict rules about who could whistle and when, sometimes enforced with more teeth than you'd expect. Historians still debate whether such superstitions genuinely affected crew morale or were just a convenient way to explain the inexplicable. You lean against the railing, feeling the breeze grow stronger, ruffling your hair and tugging at your clothes. The scent of salt and seaweed fills your nostrils, grounding you in the present moment. The crew begins to move with renewed energy, scrambling to adjust the sails, tighten the ropes, and prepare for whatever the wind decides to bring. There's a spark of life returning, a collective breath held in anticipation. You watch the horizon carefully, eyes scanning for the first hints of land, ships or storms. Every moment at sea is a gamble, and right now you're betting on the wind. A seagull cries overhead, and you catch its sharp silhouette against the brightening sky. Maybe it's a sign, maybe it's just a bird. Either way, you're moving again, and sometimes that's enough. And the ship creaks and groans as it finally catches the wind, a sound that feels almost like a sigh of relief from the timbers themselves. The sails snap crisply, filling out like the chest of a proud, if ragged, beast. You lean into the rail, steadying yourself against the gentle but persistent sway that grows into a steady rhythm, lulling your muscles and mind into a delicate balance between alertness and exhaustion. The salty ocean air fills your lungs with a sharp, invigorating bite. It's fresh and clean, with a hint of something wild and untamed, like the scent of a forest after a summer storm, only saltier and more honest. The sun climbs higher in the sky, its golden fingers stretching across the water, warming your skin without turning it to a blistering burn, though the threat is always there. The endless blue surrounds you, a vast, shimmering expanse that humbles and terrifies all at once. Out here, you're no longer the captain or the first mate, or even the fastest gun on deck. You're a speck of dust in the sprawling theater of nature, utterly vulnerable yet strangely alive. You watch as the crew moves with a weary precision, each man playing his part in the silent symphony of survival. Hands pull ropes taut with practiced ease. Feet find their balance on the slick, rolling deck. Voices call out orders that blend into the natural rhythm of the sea. They move like parts of a single living organism, instinct and experience woven into every motion. You're new to this dance, unsure of your steps, but you're learning fast. Here's a solid historical fact. Pirate ships weren't built for endurance or brute strength like the mighty Navy vessels. No, they were smaller, faster, and more agile, perfect for quick raids and swift escapes. Speed was their secret weapon. The wind was their engine. Without it, they were as helpless as a fish stranded on the shore. But here's a quirky detail you probably didn't expect. Pirates often preferred to disable captured ships rather than sink them outright. Why? Because an abandoned ship, drifting like a ghost in the waves, was a chilling message to others, a spectral reminder of pirate power and terror. These ghost ships sometimes haunted the Caribbean for months, appearing unexpectedly on the horizon, making sailors shudder and rethink their course. Historians still debate exactly how often pirates abandoned captured vessels versus destroying them out of necessity, spite, or practicality. The truth likely varies with circumstance and captain, but the idea that a pirate's legacy could linger like a phantom ship, unseen but deeply felt, is as poetic as it is unsettling. You take a deep breath and scan the horizon. The sky is clear, a vast canvas of endless blue fading into a lighter shade at the edge of the world. The waves ripple and sparkle under the sun's steady gaze, each one a tiny mirror reflecting the infinite above. It's beautiful and cruel, a paradox that the sea plays expertly. Your thoughts drift to the stories you've heard of ships vanishing without a trace, crews swallowed by the unforgiving ocean, treasures lost beneath the waves. You realize how thin the line is between legend and reality, and how easily the sea blurs the two. The crew begins to chatter softly, a mixture of relief and caution in their voices. You catch the quartermaster's eye, his usual stern expression softened for a moment by the rare gift of movement. Even the cook steps out from below decks, carrying a pot of something unidentifiable but warm, a small comfort amid uncertainty. The scent of salted pork mingles with the briny breeze, and you almost believe that life can go on, even out here, adrift between worlds. But you know better. Every moment of calm is just the eye of the storm in disguise. Every gust of wind might be a prelude to fury. Still, for now, the wind is your ally. The ship moves forward. The horizon beckons. You close your eyes briefly and let the sea's rhythm seep into your bones. A slow, steady pulse that reminds you you're still here, still breathing, still fighting, out here in the middle of nowhere. That's victory enough. The days blur together, each one folding into the next like waves, chasing endlessly after the horizon. The sea's vast monotony has a way of distorting time. You lose track of mornings and evenings, and sometimes even the distinction between waking and sleeping becomes fuzzy, as if you're caught in a dream that never quite ends. You find yourself waking before dawn, the cool mist brushing your face like a tentative greeting. The air smells salty, sharp, and alive, carrying the faint cries of distant seabirds and the rhythmic slap of water against the hull. It's a subtle symphony, one that plays constantly, though you barely notice it anymore. As you move about the ship, you notice how the smallest details gain significance. The worn knot on a rope, the stubborn stain on a barrel, the way the sunlight glints off a tarnished cutlass. Each tells a story, a fragment of the life lived here. Pirates were creatures of habit, despite their reputation for chaos. They kept rituals to stave off the madness, regular cleaning, watch rotations, and oddly specific superstitions. Some refused to whistle below deck, fearing it would bring bad luck. Others carried personal talismans, coins, pieces of rope, or even bits of parchment with prayers or curses written hastily. A little known fact, the famous pirate flag, the skull and crossbones, wasn't universal. Many pirate captains designed their own flags to send specific messages, some more terrifying than others. Some showed hourglasses, warning that time was running out. Others featured skeletons, spears, or bleeding hearts. The flag was both a warning and a psychological weapon. Historians still debate how much these flags actually influenced enemy ships' decisions versus serving as morale boosters for the pirates themselves. You watch the flag snap sharply in the breeze, its colors faded, but its message clear. It's strange to think that such a simple piece of cloth could strike fear across oceans. As the sun climbs higher, you find yourself reflecting on the paradox of pirate life, outlaws and rebels, yet deeply superstitious and bound by their own codes. Fierce warriors who also cared for strange rituals, living on the edge, yet desperately clinging to small comforts. You catch a glimpse of the ship's carpenter, quietly tending to a splintered plank with slow, deliberate strokes. There's a rhythm to his work, a meditation that steadies the soul. Around you, the crew moves with cautious energy, stealing moments to laugh quietly, share a whispered joke, or simply savor a rare moment of calm. The ocean continues its endless song, beautiful, indifferent, and utterly unforgiving. You tuck your hands into your sleeves, lean against the rail, and let the salty breeze carry your thoughts away, far beyond this floating speck lost in the vast blue. The sea hums beneath you like a living thing, ancient and secretive, carrying stories older than any book or map. The ship rocks steadily, a cradle that can soothe or shatter, depending on the mood of the waves. You lean over the side and watch the water swirl, sparkling with fragments of sunlight, like scattered diamonds tossed by a careless hand. Pirates knew the ocean's moods better than most. The sea was both a partner and a predator, unpredictable and powerful. They respected it, not because it was kind, but because it was relentless. Here's a well-known truth. Pirates often relied on celestial navigation, using the sun by day and the stars by night to guide their courses. But even the best navigators could be fooled by storms, fog, or the deceptive curves of the Earth's horizon. A lesser known detail, some pirates believed that certain constellations were lucky, while others brought doom. They told stories about the hanging man, a star pattern that signaled bad luck, and the sea serpent, which supposedly guided sailors away from hidden reefs. Historians still debate how much of this was superstition versus practical navigation lore passed down through generations. As you gaze upward at the deepening blue sky, you notice the first faint stars starting to twinkle, soft, distant fires in the vast darkness. The ship's lamps flicker on, casting warm pools of light on the deck, chasing back the shadows. The crew begins to settle into the evening routine. Some gather in small groups, trading stories and songs, their voices low and rough but comforting. Others retreat below deck, seeking rest or solitude. You hear the gentle strum of a lute, a melody that seems to weave itself into the night air, pulling at something deep inside you. It's a song of longing and loss, of adventure and regret, the pirate's eternal lullaby. Despite the hardships, moments like these remind you why the sea calls so fiercely. It's a place of freedom and fear, beauty and danger, a world apart from the rules and walls of civilization. You take a deep breath, letting the salty air fill your lungs and calm your racing thoughts. The ship creaks softly beneath your feet, a steady heartbeat in the vast silence. For now, the night is yours. The sea is your companion, and the stars, mysterious and eternal, watch over you. Night deepens, folding the world into shadows and soft whispers. The sea, once dazzling in the sun's glare, now becomes a dark canvas dotted with shimmering reflections, tiny stars mirrored in the water, each ripple catching the moonlight like a secret kept just for you. You step lightly across the deck, the wood cool beneath your feet after the sun's relentless heat. The air is thick with salt, and the faint musk of tar and rope mingling into the unmistakable scent of a ship at sea. It's a smell you're beginning to recognize as both comfort and warning. The crew moves quietly in the low light. Some lean against the rails, eyes lost in the vast black horizon. Others gather near lanterns, their faces glowing softly, speaking in hushed tones as if afraid to disturb the night itself. The sea encourages secrets. You find a spot near the bow and sit, letting your legs dangle over the edge. The water below is a dark, shifting mirror, mysterious and infinite. You watch as bioluminescent creatures glow faintly beneath the surface, ghostly blue sparks that blink like tiny underwater stars. It's a magical, almost surreal sight, a reminder that life thrives even in the depths of darkness. Pirates feared more than storms and battle. They feared the night's solitude and the mysteries it hid. Ghost stories and legends filled the dark hours, told in voices low and trembling. Some swore they heard voices carried on the wind, whispers of drowned sailors or cursed souls seeking revenge. A lesser-known fact, many pirate ships kept a black cat on board, believed to protect the crew from evil spirits and bring good luck. The cat was more than a pet. It was a guardian against the unseen. Historians still debate whether these superstitions helped keep morale afloat or merely mask the deep-seated fear of the unknown. Your thoughts drift as you sit, the quiet rocking of the ship syncing with your breathing. You wonder about the lives that crossed paths on this vessel, the dreams and regrets, the betrayals and bonds forged in fire and salt. The night is thick with possibility. Anything could happen. The sea might suddenly erupt with fury or cradle you gently into dawn. A soft breeze stirs your hair, carrying the scent of rain far off, and you lean back against the rail, eyes tracing the curve of the stars above. The world feels vast, mysterious, and strangely tender. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the night's calm wrap around you like a familiar cloak. The first hints of dawn bleed slowly into the night's inky blackness, softening the edges of the world. The horizon glows faintly, a gentle promise of light and warmth, though the chill of the early morning still clings to your skin. You're perched on the deck, wrapped in a threadbare coat that smells faintly of salt and old smoke, watching as the sea's surface shifts from obsidian to a palette of muted blues and grays. Around you, the ship stirs awake. The creaks and groans of wood, stretched by night's cold, begin to mix with muffled footsteps and the scraping of boots against rough planks. The crew, weary but steady, move with a quiet efficiency, preparing the ship for whatever the new day might bring. Pirates rarely saw a sunrise without worry. Each day at sea could be your last, whether from battle, illness, or the unforgiving sea itself. Yet, amidst the fear, the sunrise held a fragile beauty, a small victory in a life ruled by chaos. Here's a known fact. The morning watch was often the most perilous time aboard ship. Fatigue from overnight duties made mistakes likelier, and the sudden light revealed dangers hidden by darkness. Pirates had to be sharp-eyed and quick to respond. A lesser-known detail, some pirate crews began their mornings with superstitious rituals, simple gestures like crossing fingers or drawing a symbol in the sand to invite good fortune. Others would throw salt over their shoulders or murmur prayers to sea gods. Historians still debate the origins and effectiveness of these rituals, but they reveal how deeply the pirates' lives were entwined with belief and fear. As the sun edges above the horizon, casting its first rays like liquid gold, the sea seems to sigh, a brief, shimmering breath before the day fully unfolds. The salty breeze picks up, carrying the mingled scents of tar, wet wood, and distant flowers from a hidden shore. You take a deep breath, savoring the moment, knowing it might be the last quiet one you get for a while. The crew's murmurs grow louder as preparations quicken. Somewhere below deck, the cook stirs a pot, the smell of boiled salted beef wafting upward, a humble breakfast for hardened souls. You glance toward the mast where the flag flutters steadily in the morning wind. It's a symbol of freedom and fear, rebellion and survival. And out there, beyond the horizon, lies both promise and peril. The day has begun. The morning light spreads slowly, softening the rough edges of the ship and casting long shadows across the deck. The warmth is welcome but deceptive, for the sea remains as unpredictable as ever, calm now but holding storms and secrets just beneath its glittering surface. You move with the crew through the steady rhythm of the morning. Ropes tightened, sails adjusted, barrels checked. The air hums with a muted energy, a fragile balance between routine and tension. Every small action carries weight. A missed knot or overlooked leak could mean disaster. Pirates were masters of improvisation, turning scraps and odds and ends into weapons, tools, and sometimes art. The ship itself was a living thing, patched and repaired endlessly with whatever could be scrounged or stolen. Here's a fact. Pirates often repurposed captured ships and materials to keep their fleets running, making do with what they had rather than relying on official ports or supplies. This necessity bred creativity, but also risked structural failures. A quirky detail. Some pirates decorated their ships with strange trophies, pieces of enemy flags, carved bones, or even the figureheads of captured vessels, both to intimidate foes and to tell their own stories. Historians still wonder how much these adornments reflected personal pride versus psychological warfare, and how they shaped the myth of the fearsome pirate. As you walk past the mast, the flag flutters fiercely, a dark silhouette against the brightening sky. Its skull and crossed bones, though faded, are a stark reminder of the life you've chosen, or perhaps the life that has chosen you. The sun climbs higher, bringing heat and light, but also exposure. There's no hiding from the elements here, no place to retreat. Every scar on your skin tells a story of sun, salt, and survival. You hear a sudden shout, a warning, an order. The crew snaps to attention, eyes sharp. You glance toward the horizon and spot a dark shape, a ship, distant but unmistakable, cutting across the waves. Your heart quickens. Is it friend or foe, traitor or navy? The sea holds many faces, and none can be trusted. The wind carries a salty tang, and the faint scent of smoke, stirring old fears and fresh adrenaline. You grip the rail, muscles tensing. Whatever happens next will be written in the waves. For now, you wait. The distant ship grows larger, its sails billowing like ghostly wings against the horizon. The tension aboard your vessel thickens. Every pair of eyes narrows, every hand inches toward a weapon. The sea seems to hold its breath along with you, the usual rhythmic crashing of waves, replaced by a tense silence that screams louder than any cannon. You find yourself scanning every detail, flags, sail shapes, the way the ship moves through the water, for any clue to its identity. A merchant ship? A naval warship? Another band of pirates? Each possibility twists your stomach in different ways. Pirates were expert observers, trained to read subtle signs that could mean the difference between plunder and peril. Identifying ships from afar was a crucial skill, sometimes a lifesaver. The famous Jolly Roger flag was used to signal pirate intent, but deception was common, with many ships flying false colors to trick foes or prey. Here's a lesser-known detail. Pirates sometimes used prearranged signals, like specific flag patterns or lantern arrangements, to communicate or avoid surprise attacks. These codes were often secret, passed down quietly to trusted crew members. Historians still debate how effective these signals were in the chaos of battle, and how often they were misunderstood or ignored. Your heartbeat quickens as the two ships close in on each other, the distance shrinking to a tense few hundred yards. The air buzzes with anticipation and fear, a mix as potent as any gunpowder. Suddenly, the captain barks orders, his voice sharp and commanding. The crew springs into action, loading cannons, readying pistols, and securing ropes. You move quickly, muscles coiling for what could be a brutal clash or a swift escape. Amid the chaos, your mind drifts briefly to the many unknowns that define pirate life. What lies beyond this encounter? Who lives or dies? And the thin line between freedom and doom. And yet, despite everything, the sea keeps calling, relentless, mysterious, and never forgiving. You tighten your grip on the rail, eyes locked on the approaching ship. The moment has arrived. The wind softens as night gently descends, wrapping the world in a velvet cloak sprinkled with silver stars. You feel the steady, rhythmic rocking of the ship beneath you, a slow, soothing pulse that seems to breathe with the heartbeat of the sea itself. The air carries the faint scent of salt and wood, mingling with the coolness of the evening, inviting your lungs to fill deeply and calmly. The frantic rush of the day fades away, replaced by a profound stillness that seeps into your bones. You notice the gentle lapping of waves against the hull, each whisper a lullaby sung by the ocean to soothe the restless and weary. The stars above twinkle softly, distant fires that seem to nod in quiet companionship. Your muscles relax, releasing the tension held too long, the tight grip on the rail, the coiled readiness in your limbs. Your mind begins to slow, thoughts drifting like wisps of sea foam, light and effortless. The worries of battles, storms, and shadows fall away, replaced by a gentle acceptance of this moment's peace. Beneath the dark waters, life continues in quiet mystery. Bioluminescent creatures pulse faint glows, like underwater lanterns guiding you toward calm. The cool breeze brushes your face, a tender reminder that for now you are safe. Feel the gentle rocking, the soothing rhythm sinking with your breath. Let each exhale carry away the day's heaviness. Each inhale bring a soft renewal. The sea's endless embrace welcomes you, a timeless guardian cradling you in its vast arms. Rest here, in this quiet sanctuary between worlds. The ocean's song hums softly, a constant presence in the night, promising that no matter what comes tomorrow, this moment is yours, peaceful, steady, and whole. Sleep now, carried by the sea's gentle breath, safe in the endless rhythm of the waves. The dawn arrives slowly, a faint glow spreading across the horizon, like spilled ink lightening into soft watercolor. The ship feels suspended between night and day, caught in a quiet moment of transition. You stand at the rail, the chill of the early morning brushing against your skin, and watch as the sea begins to shimmer with promise. Around you, the crew moves with a mixture of wariness and anticipation. Their faces are marked by salt, sun, and sleepless nights, but there's a spark, perhaps hope or stubborn resolve, that flickers in their eyes. You recognize it, the same fire that keeps sailors alive against impossible odds. The wind is gentle, coaxing the sails to catch its breath without demanding too much. It carries with it a mingled scent of salt, seaweed, and the faint, earthy aroma of distant land. Somewhere beyond the horizon, an island waits, its jagged cliffs and hidden coves whispered about in pirate tales. The promise of shelter, fresh water, and perhaps even treasure. Pirates' lives were shaped by these moments, the delicate balance between risk and reward, freedom and captivity. The ocean was both their prison and their highway, the waves their constant companions and relentless adversaries. Here's a widely accepted fact. Many pirate crews relied heavily on islands as safe havens, places to repair ships, rest, and resupply. But these sanctuaries were often fraught with danger from rival pirates, hostile locals, or the very environment itself. A lesser known detail: some pirate hideouts were so secretive and well guarded that they seemed almost mythical. Coves hidden by reefs, caves concealed behind waterfalls, and islands that vanished behind thick fog. Finding these places required skill, courage, and a bit of luck. Historians still debate how organized pirate networks really were, whether these hideouts were coordinated refuges or scattered, secret spots known only to a few. You watch the sun rise fully now, bathing the ship in golden light. The waves catch fire, sparkling like a field of jewels, and for a moment the sea seems less like a threatening expanse and more like a shimmering promise. You take a deep breath, feeling the salt air fill your lungs and steady your heart. Whatever comes next, you are part of this vast, wild world, its secrets, dangers, and endless allure. The journey continues. The sea's mood shifts subtly as the day wears on, the gentle swell growing into a more insistent rhythm. The sun climbs higher, beating down with an almost merciless heat, turning the deck into a furnace beneath your feet. Sweat beads at your hairline and trickles down your back, salty and relentless. You notice how the crew's energy fluctuates, some pushing through with grim determination, others slowed by exhaustion and the unending sun. Even the ship seems to respond, its timbers groaning under the strain, every rope stretched taut, every sail strained to catch what little breeze remains. Pirates understood that nature was as much an enemy as any rival crew. The sun could bake you alive, the sea could swallow you whole. There was no mercy here, only survival, a widely accepted fact. Dehydration and heat stroke were constant threats on long voyages, often worse than enemy attacks. Fresh water was precious, rationed carefully, and sometimes adulterated or scarce. A quirky detail: some pirates believed that chewing on tree bark or certain herbs could stave off thirst or heat-related illnesses, though the effectiveness of these remedies is questionable at best. Historians still debate how pirates balanced the need for fresh water with the difficulty of carrying enough on small, fast ships. You wipe your brow and glance toward the horizon, where a faint shimmer suggests a distant mirage or the edge of reality bending in the heat. The ocean seems endless and indifferent, a vast burning expanse. The crew murmurs among themselves, eyes scanning for signs of land or rescue. The tension is thick, but so is a quiet resilience, the stubborn refusal to give up, no matter how harsh the day. You take a deep breath, letting the salty air fill your lungs, anchoring you in the present. The sea is unforgiving, but so are you, and today you endure. The late afternoon sun begins its slow descent, casting long golden rays that stretch lazily across the waves like spilled honey. The heat remains stubborn, but softer now, a warm embrace that soothes the skin after the relentless blaze of midday. The sky is a vast canvas, painted in hues of amber and rose, colors shifting subtly with every passing moment. You find yourself moving with a new kind of rhythm, slower, more deliberate, matching the languid pace of the sea as it shifts from restless to calm. The ship rocks gently now, the creaking of its timbers a familiar, almost comforting sound beneath your feet. The air carries a delicate mix of salt, wood smoke, and the faintest trace of wild flowers from a faraway shore, teasing your senses with promises of land. Around you, the crew begins to shed some of their earlier wariness. Faces once shadowed with exhaustion now show hints of relief, and quiet conversations pick up again. The sharp edges of tension dull, replaced by an almost tangible camaraderie, born not just of survival, but of shared stories and laughter that echoes softly over the water. Pirates understood that the sea demanded more than strength. It required heart and mind. Their bonds were forged in moments like these, when the horizon stretched wide and the future felt just within reach. Here's a historical fact. Many pirate crews maintained a strict code, a set of rules that governed behavior, shares of plunder, and dispute resolution. This code was vital to keeping order on ships, where authority was fragile and tempers flared easily. A quirky detail? Some codes included surprisingly democratic provisions, like allowing every crew member a vote in major decisions, or fines for drunkenness and gambling. These rules helped keep the crew unified and focused on their precarious goals. Historians still debate how strictly these codes were enforced, or how much they varied from ship to ship, but they undeniably shaped pirate life and lore. You watch as the ship's carpenter meticulously patches a sail, his weathered hands steady and sure. Nearby, a group of men share a game of dice, their voices low but lively, the stakes small but the tension real. The setting sun paints the water in shimmering streaks of gold and pink, each wave catching the light like a jewel. The horizon feels closer now, a promise of land, safety, or perhaps another adventure. You take a deep breath, letting the salty breeze fill your lungs and steady your thoughts. The sea has been harsh, indifferent, and relentless, but it's also a place of unexpected beauty and connection. As dusk approaches, you settle into the gentle sway of the ship, the murmur of the crew around you like a soft lullaby. For now, you are home on the endless sea. The twilight deepens, folding the world into a rich tapestry of fading colors and soft shadows. The sun dips lower, casting a fiery glow that sets the horizon ablaze, as if the sea itself were on fire. The sky shifts from warm golds and pinks to cooler blues and purples, a silent symphony of change playing out above the endless ocean. You stand near the rail, the wooden planks cool beneath your feet now, carrying the faint scent of salt and damp rope. The air feels charged, electric with the quiet anticipation that only nightfall at sea can bring. Around you, the crew moves with a practiced ease, their silhouettes outlined against the fading light, some tending sails, others cleaning weapons or sharing quiet conversations. The gentle rocking of the ship has slowed to a steady, comforting rhythm, like a heartbeat syncing with your own. You breathe deeply, the salty breeze filling your lungs and soothing the exhaustion from the day. Each exhale releases the tension knotted deep inside, a quiet surrender to the vastness surrounding you. Pirates, for all their fierce reputations, were deeply connected to the rhythms of nature. They relied on the changing light to mark time, on the stars to guide them, and on the quiet moments between storms and battles to find peace. A widely accepted fact, before the age of advanced navigation tools, sailors, including pirates, used the stars, especially the North Star, to determine their position and course. These celestial guides were lifelines in the vast, featureless ocean. A lesser known detail: some pirates believed certain stars held special powers, guiding their fortunes or warning of impending danger. They developed stories around constellations like the Black Sail, a pattern thought to foretell ill fate. Historians still wonder how much these beliefs influenced actual navigation versus serving as comforting myths in a dangerous world. You notice a small group gathered around a lantern, their faces glowing warmly as they share tales of distant lands and lost treasures. Laughter bubbles up, a rare but cherished sound on this otherwise harsh voyage. Nearby, the ship's cook stirs a pot of thick stew, the aroma mingling with the ocean air, promising a simple but welcome meal. As night deepens, the sky blooms with stars, countless pinpricks of light scattered across a velvet canvas. The Milky Way stretches overhead, a shimmering river of silver that seems to beckon you toward unknown horizons. You lean against the rail, letting the ship's gentle sway and the vastness of the cosmos ease your mind. The worries of the day, the threats, the uncertainty begin to fade, replaced by a quiet wonder. Here on this rolling, restless sea, you find a strange kind of peace. The night is vast and full of secrets, but for now you are safe in its embrace. You close your eyes briefly, listening to the murmurs of the crew, the whisper of the wind, and the steady heartbeat of the ship beneath you. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, but tonight the sea sings a lullaby just for you. Night descends in full now, the last embers of daylight fading into deep indigo. Overhead, the sky unfolds like an ancient map, constellations pricking through the darkness in familiar patterns that have guided sailors for centuries. The moon, a pale and watchful eye, hangs low, casting silver light across the endless swells of the sea. Each wave glistens, each crest a soft shimmer under its glow, as if the ocean itself breathes in time with the sky. You pull your coat tighter around you as the evening chill sets in, the heat of the day long since vanished, replaced by a damp, creeping cold that settles deep into your bones. The wood beneath your boots is slick with sea spray, the smell of salt sharp and clean in your lungs. Far from land, the night feels both boundless and strangely intimate, the ship a fragile sliver of life adrift in a vast, unknowable wilderness. The crew has settled into the quiet rhythm of the night watch. Lanterns swing gently from the rigging, casting pools of warm, golden light that flicker across weathered faces and polished brass. Soft murmurs carry across the deck, snatches of songs, half-whispered stories, the occasional low chuckle. Even in exhaustion, even with the weight of tomorrow's unknowns pressing heavy on their shoulders, these men and women hold fast to the comfort of shared voices in the dark. Pirates, despite their reputation for chaos, were creatures of habit. The sea demanded it. Routine was survival. Morning duties, night watches, the division of spoils, the care of weapons. There was order in the lawlessness, a code beneath the anarchy. Here's a historical fact. Pirate crews often rotated watches in strict shifts, ensuring that someone was always awake to spot danger, be it from the sea, rival ships, or the skies. Night watches weren't just tradition, they were a lifeline, a lesser known detail. Some pirates believed in witch winds, phantom gusts of air that could steal a ship off course in the dark. Sailors would tie small charms to the rigging, bits of bone, feathers, or twisted metal, to protect against such unseen mischief. Historians still debate whether these beliefs arose from genuine superstition or as ways to explain the often inexplicable turns of fate at sea. You listen to the creak of the timbers and the soft slap of water against the hull, a rhythm that seems as old as the ocean itself. Your fingertips trail along the worn wood of the rail, tracing the scars and scratches that mark battles past. Each groove tells a story, a near escape, a triumphant capture, or perhaps a night when the sea showed no mercy. The moonlight sharpens the edges of the ship, casting shadows that stretch and sway with every gentle roll. You hear the distant hum of a shanty, low and haunting, sung without urgency, as though the voices are simply passing time, not summoning courage. And still, the stars turn overhead, ancient and indifferent. Out here, time loses meaning. There is only the now, the gentle pull of the tides, the weight of salt on your skin, the low murmur of shipmates in the dark. Even your own thoughts feel quieter, softened by the vastness of the sea and the endless sky. You glance toward the horizon, where darkness stretches uninterrupted in every direction. Somewhere out there, land lies waiting. Somewhere, perhaps, danger approaches unseen. But here, on this fragile wooden island, life goes on. The ship rocks gently, cradling you in its ceaseless motion. You close your eyes and let yourself drift, not to sleep, not yet, but to stillness. The wind tugs softly at your hair. The ocean whispers against the hull, and above it all, the stars wheel on in silent splendor. For this moment, there is nothing but peace. The deep of night settles over the ship like a heavy velvet curtain. Darker now, the stars brighter and sharper as your eyes adjust to the absence of artificial light. The moon hovers just above the waterline, its reflection rippling across the sea in broken strands of silver, as if the sky itself has unraveled and poured into the waves. Each breath you take feels cooler, damp with ocean mist, tasting faintly of salt and something older, something ancient that lingers in the air when land is far away. You move quietly, your boots making only the softest creaks against the well-worn planks. The ship around you feels like a living thing, wood and rope, canvas and iron, groaning softly as it glides over the endless swells. It exhales with every gust of wind through the rigging, inhales with the creak of the masts, and beneath it all is the heartbeat of the sea itself, a slow, ceaseless rhythm that has carried ships like this across oceans for centuries. Night on the water strips everything down, the bravado, the noise, the sharp edges of daylight. It all falls away, leaving only the essentials: breath, heartbeat, wind, and the vast, unending sea. You understand why sailors, especially pirates, spoke of the ocean as a living god. Out here, you are utterly at its mercy. Pirates, for all their defiance, feared this darkness, not the simple absence of light, but the hidden dangers it held: enemy ships slipping through the shadows, sudden storms that could swallow a vessel whole, or worse still, the silent, creeping dread of becoming lost in an endless void. A widely known fact: pirate ships often ran dark at night to avoid detection, extinguishing lanterns and moving in near silence. It was a necessary risk, one that could mean the difference between a successful raid and an ambush by the Navy. But here's a lesser-known detail. Some pirate crews believed that the ocean itself had moods, that certain nights were cursed, marked by unnatural stillness or eerie phosphorescent glows in the water. Sailors would whisper of ghost tides and black winds, omens that foretold disaster, and more than a few captains altered course based on such eerie signs. Historians still debate whether these legends were born from genuine experiences, phenomena like St. Elmo's fire or bioluminescent plankton, or simply the fertile imagination of minds frayed by isolation and endless water. The crew tonight seems subdued, their usual rough banter replaced by quiet tasks and the occasional low hum of a tune. A few men dice quietly by lantern light, the glow casting flickering shadows across their weathered faces. Others sit alone, staring out across the black water, as if searching for some hidden message in the endless dark. You pass the helmsman, who nods without words, his hands steady on the wheel. The ship rocks gently, the sails whisper overhead, and the stars keep their slow, silent watch. There is a peculiar comfort in this stillness. Even the danger, the ever-present risk of ambush or wreck, feels distant here, softened by the hum of the sea and the familiar shape of the ship beneath your hands. You find yourself breathing more deeply, your thoughts slowing, the restless churn of the day easing as you let the night carry you. The wind rises for a moment, tugging at the sails, and you catch the faintest scent of something other distant land, perhaps, or another ship too far to see, but near enough for the wind to carry its trace. You pause, listening, but the sound is nothing more than the soft rush of waves. Somewhere in the darkness, someone begins to whistle, low and mournful, an old sea tune that seems to rise from the wood itself. It drifts across the deck, carried on the wind, until it dissolves into the night, leaving behind only the rhythmic slap of the water and the creak of the hull. You stay at the rail longer than you intended, lulled by the sea's timeless music, until your limbs grow heavy and your eyes begin to blur. The cool air soothes, the endless stars above seem to breathe with you, and for the first time in what feels like days, your mind lets go of the constant grip of survival. Tomorrow may bring storms or bloodshed, triumph or disaster, but tonight you drift, quiet and safe, beneath the watchful eyes of 1,000 stars, in the sea, vast and unknowable, rocks you gently on. The blackness of the sea is complete now, an endless abyss stretching in every direction, broken only by the soft silver of starlight and the quiet glow of the moon. The ship rocks gently, a slow, almost hypnotic motion, the timbers creaking with the familiar song of old wood and restless water. The night has deepened into its quietest hours, the space between midnight and dawn, where the world feels suspended, weightless, and slightly unreal. You stand near the bow, the breeze cool on your face, tasting of salt and something ancient. The ocean ahead is a vast, rippling mirror, reflecting the scattered stars above, until you can barely tell where the sky ends and the sea begins. You close your eyes for a moment, feeling the soft pull of the ship, the gentle hush of the waves, and the deep, steady rhythm of your own breath sinking with it all. This is the hour when fear whispers loudest. Pirates, for all their bravado in the daylight, knew that it was in these hours, this absolute stillness, when the mind played its cruelest games. The ocean felt endless. The weight of isolation pressed in. Shadows twisted into imagined ships, and the faintest creak of rope could set a man's heart racing. Here's a well-established fact. Pirate crews were often deeply superstitious, and night watches were regarded with particular suspicion. It was during the deepest hours of night that ships most often vanished without a trace, taken by sudden squalls, treacherous currents, or quiet ambushes from unseen enemies. A lesser-known detail: some pirate crews forbade whistling after dark. They believed that whistling summoned the wind, and not always the kind of wind you'd want. A sudden gale could tear through the sails or drive a ship off course. Even today, some old sailors carry this superstition. Historians still debate the origins of these beliefs. Were they born from ancient seafaring traditions, or were they simply the natural result of too many nights spent adrift, minds unraveling under the weight of solitude and endless horizon? You can't help but understand it. The ocean at night is different. It is not the playful blue of daytime, nor the majestic silver of sunset. It is black, fathomless, and alive in ways you cannot fully name. The way the water shifts, the way the shadows move. There's something watching, something listening. You feel it in your skin, in your bones. The crew senses it too. Even the most hardened among them are quieter now. Conversations are murmured, and laughter has vanished entirely. A man sits cross-legged on the deck, turning a worn coin through his fingers, eyes distant. Another sharpens a knife, the soft rasp of the blade, the only sound in the stillness. A few have simply stretched out and closed their eyes, trusting the ship to carry them through the night. Above you, the sails billow softly in the breeze, their pale shapes ghost-like against the sky. You look up at the stars, tracing constellations you half remember: Orion, The Southern Cross. Strange patterns the crew swears by, but you still can't quite make sense of. Somewhere overhead is the North Star, the one fixed point in this shifting world. You find it, and you breathe a little easier. The sea, in its vastness, teaches you small things, how to move quietly, how to listen more than speak, how to trust without understanding. It strips away the clutter of land-bound life, reducing everything to essentials: water, wind, sky, survival. Time stretches out here. Minutes feel like hours, hours like days. It is no wonder that some sailors, staring into endless dark seas, claim to see ghost ships, phantom vessels crewed by the dead, forever sailing, never reaching shore. Even now, you wonder what tricks your own eyes might play on you if you gazed long enough. You exhale slowly, hands resting on the rail, fingertips trailing across the worn wood, polished smooth by countless hands before yours. The ship rocks on, steady and unhurried. The creak of rope, the whisper of sails, the sigh of waves, all blend into a single timeless soundscape that pulls at your thoughts, lulls your senses. The horizon is invisible now, just black on black, but the moon lights a soft path across the waves, and you follow it with your eyes, tracing its gentle arc. Somewhere out there lies your destination. Somewhere lies land, safety, or perhaps new dangers. For now, though, there is only this: the gentle cradle of the sea, the silvered dark, and the quiet pulse of breath and heartbeat. Breath and heartbeat. You feel your eyelids grow heavy, not from exhaustion, but from the sheer weightlessness of it all. The world has narrowed to this ship, this moment, this fragile floating refuge, and in that stillness you let go just a little, letting the sea carry you, letting the dark wrap around you like an old familiar coat. Whatever comes with the dawn, you'll face it then. But tonight, you drift. The ship sails on through the endless dark, each creak of wood and whisper of canvas more pronounced in the deep stillness of the pre-dawn hours. Time has softened at the edges, stretched thin by exhaustion and the hypnotic motion of the sea. The horizon remains an invisible line, the stars above steady and cold, watching your fragile wooden island as it drifts through the vast blackness. You stand quietly near the mainmast, your breath fogging slightly in the cool air, the dampness of the sea settling into your clothes and skin. The ocean spreads in every direction, smooth as glass under the moon's silver eye, the gentle slap of water against the hull, the only sound beyond the occasional soft footsteps on the deck. Even the wind has quieted, as if the very world is holding its breath. This is the hour sailors call the dead of night, not because of ghosts, though some would claim otherwise, but because it is the stillest, most silent passage of time, when the world seems to hover between sleep and waking. Even the sea seems to doze, its restless churn reduced to gentle swells. Pirates understood the peculiar danger of this time. Without wind, a ship could drift aimlessly for hours, even days. Without careful watch, an enemy could slip close unseen. But equally, it was the hour when fear crept in, fear of the vastness, the silence, the endless unknown. A known fact, many pirate ships operated in small, agile units precisely because survival demanded constant readiness. Smaller ships meant faster escapes, tighter crews, and less chance of mutiny or surprise. A lesser known detail, some pirate captains forbade open lamps entirely on windless nights, afraid that even a flicker of light could draw trouble, or worse, that fire might catch in the dry rigging. Instead, crews moved by memory and starlight alone, their ship ghosting silently through the water like a shadow. Historians still debate whether these cautious measures were superstition, strategy, or sheer necessity. In truth, it was likely all three. You shift your weight, glancing skyward. The constellations are old friends now, their quiet, watchful presence a rare comfort in this fragile existence. You pick out a familiar pattern, Cassiopeia perhaps, and for a moment your thoughts drift not to the dangers ahead, but to distant memories. The first time you stood on a ship's deck, the salt spray on your lips, the weight of the world falling away as the land shrank behind you. The hush around you is absolute. Even the ship's timbers seem to groan more softly, the usual clatter of life aboard reduced to whispers. Somewhere a crewman hums under his breath, an old sea hymn, wordless now, just a melody, as haunting and timeless as the waves themselves. You walk the length of the deck, your fingers brushing the ropes, the coarse canvas, the cold iron of the cannons. Every object here carries its own quiet history. A scar from a battle, a knot tied by hands, long vanished, wood that has braved a dozen storms. This ship, like its crew, has survived more than most will ever see. Out over the water, you spot something just for a heartbeat, a ripple of light beneath the surface, bioluminescence, tiny living creatures glowing faint green in the dark, disturbed by the ship's passage. They drift like stars fallen into the sea, stirred by the wake, leaving shimmering trails that vanish almost as soon as they appear. You watch in quiet wonder. Sailors in centuries past would have told you these were sea spirits, or the souls of the drowned lighting the deep. And standing here, wrapped in night and silence, it's not hard to believe. The crew moves softly around you, silent figures in the half-dark, their faces drawn but calm. A man tightens a sail. Another checks the ropes along the rail. The helmsman stands steady at the wheel, eyes fixed on the black horizon, all of them caught in this same waiting. And still the sea rocks beneath you, steady as breath, in out, rise, fall. You take a slow breath of your own, tasting the salt air, feeling the heaviness in your limbs begin to ease, not from fear, not from dread, but from the strange, weightless calm that only the open sea can bring. Here in the stillness, there is no past, no future, only the ship, only the stars, only the endless breathing dark. The horizon begins, just barely to soften. A faint grayness creeps at the edges of the black, the first whisper of approaching dawn. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the motion of the sea carry you, your body swaying with the ship's gentle rise and fall. The hum of the water fills your ears, the sky stretches above you, and for the briefest heartbeat, you feel at peace. In this moment, nothing else matters. The sea holds you, the stars keep watch, and slowly, softly, the night begins to yield. The first breath of dawn is not the grand arrival you might imagine. It's subtle, almost shy, the gentlest hint of gray bleeding into the horizon, like someone has whispered color back into the world, one brushstroke at a time. The stars, those steadfast companions of the long night, begin to fade one by one until only the moon lingers, pale and soft, as if reluctant to relinquish its hold on the sky. You stand quietly at the rail, your hands resting on the cool, weather-worn wood. The ship glides on, its sails stirring faintly in a breeze that tastes new, crisp, with a barest scent of land carried somewhere in its breath. The crew stirs in the half-light, quiet figures emerging from the shadows, blinking against the growing brightness, their faces pale with fatigue, but marked by something else too, something quieter, relief, hope perhaps. For pirates' dawn was both promise and threat. A new day meant new chances, fresh winds, potential prizes, or safe harbors ahead. But daylight also stripped away the protective veil of night. What was hidden could now be seen, friend or foe alike. Here's a well-established fact. Pirate ships relied heavily on the element of surprise. Most attacks were launched at first or last light, when visibility was poor and vigilance low. This hour, this exact sliver of time, was often when fates were decided. A lesser-known detail: some pirate crews held a quiet superstition that the first man to speak at dawn would curse the day. On certain ships, silence was maintained until the sun had fully cleared the horizon, an eerie communal hush broken only by the sea itself. Historians still debate whether such rituals were true beliefs or mere habit, little anchors of control in a world where so little could be commanded. The sky blooms wider now, indigo softening to lavender, then to the faintest blush of pink. The ocean mirrors it perfectly, the water turning glassy with streaks of rose and violet stretching toward the rising sun. It is breathtaking in a way that words struggle to capture, a kind of fragile beauty that seems out of place in the harsh life of pirates. And yet here it is, a daily miracle unnoticed by most. You feel the shift in the air. The breeze picks up slightly, tugging gently at your coat, carrying with it the soft slap of waves against the hull. The ship sighs and creaks as if waking from sleep. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the rhythm carry you, your breath aligning with the soft rise and fall beneath your feet. Around you, the crew begins their morning rituals. A pot clangs in the galley. Someone coughs and stretches, bones cracking after hours curled under rough blankets. The helmsman tightens his grip, adjusting course with slow, practiced hands. Life returns one heartbeat at a time. You catch a glimpse of a face you barely know, one of the newer hands, perhaps no more than 17, his cheeks still flushed with youth. He leans on the rail, eyes wide, staring at the sunrise, as if he's never seen anything so beautiful. Maybe he hasn't. You feel a flicker of something, softness, pity, the ghost of your own first voyage before it vanishes beneath the weight of the day ahead. The wind shifts again, sharper now, carrying not just the scent of salt, but something faint and wild, pine maybe, or the sharp tang of distant earth. Land is close. You can feel it in your bones, and with it comes both opportunity and peril. A safe harbor or an ambush, riches or ruin. That's the pirate's paradox. Every horizon is both salvation and doom. The ship's lookout, just a speck high above in the crow's nest, calls softly, his voice barely carrying on the breeze. Land. The word drifts down like a secret, passed from mouth to mouth, soft as a prayer. But no one hurries, no one cheers. The crew, seasoned by years of false sightings and bitter disappointments, moves with quiet efficiency instead. Sails are checked, weapons counted, hands steady on ropes. Each man and woman knows land is no guarantee of safety. Sometimes it's the most dangerous place of all. The horizon clears. You catch the faintest shape, dark against the growing light. Low hills, perhaps, rocky outcroppings, a jagged line where sea meets soil. It stirs something in your chest, something primal. We are creatures made for land. Even after years at sea, the sight of earth tugs at something buried deep inside. The sun breaks at last. A molten edge of gold spills across the water, igniting every wave, turning the sea into liquid fire. The warmth touches your face, gentle at first but growing stronger with every breath. You realize you've been holding tension in your shoulders all night. You exhale, letting it go, rolling your neck as the new day stretches out before you. It doesn't matter what lies ahead, whether the land brings shelter or sword, riches or ruin. You'll face it as you've faced every sunrise, standing tall, heart steady, ready. The world brightens. The ship moves forward, and somewhere in the growing light, adventure waits. The sunlight gathers strength as the ship glides steadily toward the distant shoreline, the golden glow spreading across the deck, illuminating every rope, every weather-beaten plank, every tired but determined face. The sea itself transforms under the new day, its dark swells softening into glistening blues and greens that stretch out toward the thin line of land, now visible on the horizon. You narrow your eyes, focusing on the shape ahead. It's still distant, hazy in the morning mist, but you can make out rugged cliffs rising like teeth from the water, the dark smudge of forest beyond, and the pale glint of sand where the ocean kisses the shore. An island, isolated, wild, and unknown. The mood on board shifts palpably. There's no outburst of cheers, no dramatic exclamations. Pirates, after all, are not prone to sentimentality, but you can feel it in the air, the quiet tightening of focus, the sharpening of eyes, the subtle bracing of shoulders. Land means possibility. Land means risk. Every sailor knows it. Here's a widely accepted fact. Pirates rarely stayed at sea indefinitely. Contrary to popular belief, most pirate crews needed landfall for essential supplies, fresh water, fruit to fight off scurvy, timber for repairs, and sometimes the spoils of their plunder traded in remote coastal towns or secret coves. A lesser known detail, some pirate ships kept small gardens on board, tiny patches of soil in wooden boxes where herbs or onions were grown to supplement the bleak diet of salt pork and ship's biscuit. A living green thing could be a lifeline in more ways than one. Historians still debate the extent of these makeshift shipboard gardens, but a handful of shipwrecks have revealed traces of soil embedded in rotting wood, suggesting that some captains valued even the smallest scrap of greenery. As the land draws closer, your senses heighten. The wind carries new smells now: rich earth, damp moss, maybe even the faint sweetness of distant blooms. The sea itself changes color, shallowing from deep navy to aquamarine as the sandy seabed rises to meet the keel. The water here is clearer, calmer, with schools of silver fish darting beneath the surface. The crew begins preparations without needing orders. Lines are coiled, sails adjusted, weapons checked discreetly but thoroughly. You see one man, an old hand with a face like worn leather, quietly rubbing the barrel of his musket with an oilcloth, his expression unreadable. You know the stories. Every pirate does. Islands can be saviors, places to rest, repair, hide, but they can also be traps. Cursed beaches, hidden reefs, treacherous native lands, or worse still, naval patrols lying in wait. Even the most innocent-looking coastline can swallow a ship whole. The breeze stiffens slightly as the island looms larger, and you can now make out more detail: the jagged rocks lining the shore, the dark tangle of trees that seem to press right up to the sand, the eerie stillness that suggests no settlement, no human life, just wilderness. A flicker of unease stirs low in your belly. You're not alone. Several of the crew glance nervously at the shore, their faces tight. You remember an old superstition: land that greets you with silence is land that means to swallow you. Still, the captain calls out, his voice even but firm, and the anchor is made ready. The ship slows, coasting on its own momentum, and the sea grows impossibly clear. So clear you can see the coral beneath, the slow drift of seaweed, the occasional dart of color as a fish flashes by. You breathe deeply, the salt and wild air mingling in your lungs. The morning warmth begins to seep into your chilled limbs, but the tension doesn't leave. It clings to you like the damp, a quiet whisper of everything that could go wrong. The helmsman steers with gentle hands, careful not to drift too close to the shallows. A boat is prepared, oars checked, ropes fastened. You'll need to go ashore. Everyone knows it. Supplies are running low, and besides, curiosity is too strong to ignore. There's a pause just for a moment as the crew waits, a breath held collectively. Even the sea seems to hush, the water lapping softly against the hull, the breeze carrying only the rustle of distant leaves. You glance once more at the island, its wild cliffs, its tangled green heart, its untamed, indifferent beauty, and you understand viscerally that this is the life you've chosen. No path is safe, no landfall is ever truly without peril, but still you step forward. The longboat is lowered, ropes creaking softly. You climb down, the sea splashing against your boots as you settle into the rocking vessel. A handful of others join you, silent, alert. The oars dip into the water, pushing the boat slowly toward the shore. Each pull of the blade feels heavier than it should, the distance shrinking with every stroke. The sound of the ship fades behind you. The island rises ahead. You hear the call of a seabird, the soft lap of water, the distant rustle of unseen branches, and as the sand draws near beneath the prow, you brace yourself. Whatever lies on this island, treasure or terror, shelter or doom, you will face it as the boat glides onto the sand with the soft scrape of wood on shore. You step out, the first to plant your boots on the untouched beach, the sea behind, the jungle ahead, and the unknown stretched wide before you. Your boots sink slightly into the damp sand as you step fully onto the shore, the crunch of crushed shells beneath your heels, the first sound you've heard that isn't the sea or wind in what feels like forever. The boat rocks behind you in the shallows, the crew still disembarking, their eyes sweeping the tree line warily. The island stretches out before you, wild, lush, and unsettlingly silent. The air feels heavier here, thicker. Each breath brings with it the dense scent of wet earth, rotting vegetation, and something faintly sweet, flowers perhaps, or overripe fruit. The towering trees ahead form a tangled green wall, their canopies knotted so tightly that the light barely penetrates, casting the jungle floor into a dim, shadowy half-light. Vines coil like serpents, leaves the size of sails droop with the weight of morning dew. The whole place feels alive, not in the gentle, welcoming sense, but in the way something watches from just out of sight. You shift your weight, listening. The rhythmic crash of waves behind you feels distant already, muffled by the oppressive hush of the jungle. Even the birds, if there are any, seem to hold their breath. No calls, no chirrups, no rustling of wings, just the low rustle of leaves and the occasional drip of water from branch to soil. This is not a place that welcomes strangers. For pirates, landfall was always double-edged. The chance to rest, to gather food, to repair, but also the chance to be trapped, ambushed, or worse, stricken by disease. Every shoreline held both hope and hazard, and you can feel the weight of that truth pressing down on your shoulders now. Here's a well-established fact. Many pirate crews, particularly those in the Caribbean and Indian Ocean, relied on remote islands not only for resupply, but as hiding spots for treasure, safe havens far from naval patrols. These secret coves and hidden inlets were lifelines in the cat and mouse game of piracy. A lesser known detail: some pirates swore that certain islands were cursed, that entire crews had vanished after making landfall, their ships found later adrift, intact but empty. These ghost islands, as whispered in taverns and before fires, became the stuff of both fear and legend. Historians still puzzle over some of these accounts. Shipwrecks, disease, or perhaps merely fear magnified into myth. The truth, as always with pirates, lies somewhere in the murk between fact and folklore. Your crew spreads cautiously along the beach. A few begin unloading barrels, water, food stores, coils of rope. Others keep weapons close, eyes on the dense jungle ahead. You feel the weight of your own cutlass at your side, the reassuring press of steel, though you can't quite shake the feeling that no blade could help you here if the island itself turns against you. The captain gives the signal, and a small party, yourself included, is chosen to scout inland. The sand gives way to loamy soil, soft beneath your steps, as you cross the invisible line from beach to forest. The air grows even heavier. The heat, trapped beneath the thick canopy, clings to your skin. The smell of damp earth thickens, mingling with the musty perfume of moss and unseen blossoms. You move carefully. Each branch you push aside drips cold water down your sleeves. Each footfall sinks slightly into the spongy ground. The sounds here are subtle, soft clicks of insects, the rustle of leaves stirred by something unseen, but no bird calls, no larger animals, just the low, constant heartbeat of the jungle. You find remnants of something half-buried stone, perhaps once a wall or path, now claimed by roots and vines. The stones are worn smooth, the edges softened by time and moss, but there's no mistaking the hand of humanity. Someone long ago was here. You pause, running your fingertips over the cool surface, wondering who they were and why they left, or why they never left at all. The crew murmurs uneasily behind you. You catch fragments, talk of old ruins, lost expeditions, islands that swallow men whole. No one raises their voice. It's as though the very trees are listening. You press deeper. The undergrowth parts slightly, revealing a clearing, a pool of still dark water, reflecting the green canopy above. It's unnervingly perfect, like glass, no ripples, no movement. The surface, so still, it reflects the sky above, like a mirror. You step closer, but stop short of the edge. Something about it, about the utter absence of life, makes the hairs on your arms rise. The others feel it too. No one speaks, no one moves to touch the water. You scan the clearing. There are no birds, no insects buzzing at the edges. Even the air here seems to hold its breath. The sea felt vast and wild, but this feels ancient, patient, as though the land itself has been waiting far longer than your kind has sailed these waters. You take a small step back, unwilling to turn your back on the pool, the tension in your shoulders growing tighter. The captain motions to retreat. Supplies can be gathered closer to shore. There's no need to press deeper into whatever this is. The path back feels longer, though it shouldn't. The jungle seems thicker, the air heavier. You catch the glint of something metallic, an old blade, rusted and broken, half buried in the undergrowth. No one touches it. When at last you break through the tree line, the sight of the sea, bright and blue, the ship bobbing gently in the shallows, feels like release. The weight lifts slightly. The wind brushes your face again, sweet and salt and alive. The crew exhales as one. No one says it, but the message is clear. Whatever lies deeper inland is better left undisturbed. The morning unfolds as barrels are filled, fresh water gathered, fruit plucked from trees along the safer edge of the island. But the men move quietly. No laughter, no songs. Shadows linger in their eyes. You glance back once at the dark line of the forest. It watches still. The day stretches on, the ship cutting a steady path through the calm expanse of open sea. The distant island, now reduced to a faint smudge on the horizon, and then eventually vanishing altogether. The breeze is steady but gentle, the waves low and rhythmic, and for the first time in days, there's a quiet ease among the crew. The tension has loosened, though not entirely. Somewhere deep in the bones of the ship and the marrow of every sailor on board, the memory of that place lingers. But the sea, in her endless motion, is washing it slowly away. You remain at the rail for a long while, watching the water peel away from the hull in gleaming sheets, listening to the soft slap of waves. The salt breeze plays through your hair, the sunlight warm against your face. There's a heaviness in your limbs, not exhaustion, exactly, but the weight of so much wakefulness, so many hours spent alert and taut. Out here, you can finally let yourself breathe. You can finally let your guard lower just a little. Here's a well known truth. Despite their reputation for chaos and bloodshed, pirate crews were often meticulously organized, especially when it came to long days at sea. Every man had his task. Every rope, every sail, every cannon had its place. This structure, this odd little society afloat, was what kept them alive. A lesser known detail: some pirates develop personal rituals for luck and survival. Coins sewn into coats, bones or beads worn beneath shirts, whispered prayers to nameless gods. These weren't the grand gestures of land-bound religions, but small, stubborn acts of defiance against the vast unpredictability of the sea. Historians still debate whether such rituals were true belief or simple comfort, but anyone who stood alone on an endless stretch of ocean knows sometimes you need something to hold on to, even if it's just a scrap of myth or a sliver of silver pressed to your chest. The afternoon sun glitters off the water like scattered diamonds. The ship hums with low, familiar life, the slap of halyards, the creak of timbers, the occasional burst of laughter or song as the crew slowly settles back into rhythm. The near silence of the previous night feels far away now, though its ghost lingers in the corners. You wander slowly along the deck. Familiar faces nod as you pass. The cook hauls a barrel toward the galley. The quartermaster sharpens his blade with slow, deliberate care. Above, the sails belly out, casting shifting shadows across the wood. The captain, still at the helm, glances at the compass and then toward the horizon. His expression remains unreadable, half focused on the course ahead, half lost in thought. You understand. The sea does that to you. Its sheer size, its endless movement, opens up a kind of quiet introspection that land never quite manages. You think back to the stillness of the island's heart, the way the jungle pressed in, the way the air felt wrong somehow. It doesn't feel real anymore. It feels like something half remembered from a dream, strange and slippery. The sea has a way of eroding sharp edges, softening the terrifying into something distant and faint, and yet a part of you still watches, still listens, because you know better than to turn your back entirely. The afternoon drifts into early evening. The sun dips lower, casting the sky into gold and rose, the water darkening to deep sapphire. The air cools, and the wind freshens, carrying with it the sharp tang of salt and something cleaner, freer. The horizon stretches endless before you, for now there's no pursuit, no storm, no enemy ship cresting the waves. Just this, the ship, the wind, the sea and the soft breath of the world turning on. The old fear slips away, replaced by a quieter sense of awe. How many before you have stood exactly here, at this rail, on this kind of ship, with the same endless water stretched in every direction? Generations of sailors, pirates, explorers, drifters, the faces change. The names are forgotten, but the sea remains the same, and that thought, oddly, brings you peace, because for all the dangers the sea holds, for all the tales of monsters, storms, and spectral ships, there's something profoundly steady in it too. A rhythm, a truth, a promise that whatever else may change, the sea will always be the sea. The sky darkens further, stars flickering to life one by one. The wind hums through the rigging. The sails stretch taut, glowing pale in the twilight. And somewhere below deck, the crew begins to settle, their voices low, their laughter soft, the long day drawing gently toward rest. You remain where you are, breathing deeply, the salt air cool and clean. The world slows, the ship glides onward, steady and sure, and you worn but unbroken. Let yourself drift, rocking with the breath of the sea beneath your feet. You'll face tomorrow when it comes, but for tonight, you are safe. You are free, and the stars scattered like lanterns across the vast sky keep their silent, faithful watch. The ship rocks gently beneath your feet, the sails whispering overhead, the night sky stretched wide and endless above. The stars burn softly, quiet beacons in the darkness, while the moon drapes silver over the smooth skin of the sea. The world has grown hushed, the wind soft, the air cool and calm. You let yourself breathe. The weight of the day, of landfall, of shadows, of the endless watching horizon has eased, softened by the steady rhythm of the ship, the creak of the wood, the hush of water sliding past the hull, the distant murmurs of the resting crew. All of it wraps around you like a slow, gentle lullaby. There's something timeless about this moment, something ancient, as though for a breath you have stepped outside the noise of the world and into the slow, patient heartbeat of the ocean itself. You feel the rise and fall beneath you, steady as breath, as pulse, as the slow turn of the earth under sky. You close your eyes. In the darkness behind your eyelids, you can still see the stars, can still hear the soft sigh of the sea. You let your breathing slow, each breath deeper, easier, as if the very rhythm of the water is pulling the tension from your bones. There is no rush here, no need to hold tight. The ship carries you, the sea cradles you, and the night watches over you with quiet, endless patience. Your breath steadies, your thoughts drift. The stars turn slowly overhead, far above the swaying mast, and everything just for now feels simple, safe, free. Let go. Let the sea rock you. Let the night carry you.